Over the last several years, hundreds of large-scale murals have appeared in cities and towns all over the world. Wildly colorful and beautifully painted, they've mostly shown up in troubled and neglected communities. But the point of the art isn't so much to transform the landscape, it's to change the lives of the painters. Brook Silva-Braga is here with that story. Brook, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Well, this all started when two American artists began sharing their paint with some kids they met, youth living in some very difficult situations. And what they experienced when they did that convinced both of them to take their art careers in a very different direction.
So we actually are going to be building a giant bird that is going to be a giant percussive sculpture.
Max Frieder and Joel Bergner have organized 400 of these murals now, painting with refugee children from Syria, hospital patients in Mexico, street kids from India. And whether the young painters know it or not, the point of the projects isn't really to brighten up the walls.
What are you painting?
Although they do that too.
It's about people having the power and the opportunity to tell their own story and to shape their own narrative. Other people, society is saying, we're gonna label you, we're gonna give you an identity, and it's a really negative one, and you being able to take that back and actually, I'm going to create my own identity and my own story.
And that's to represent love, because some people don't get love and affection.
This mural in New York City was a canvas for special needs students from the Manhattan School of Career Development.
What does this mean to you? What does this painting mean to you?
The idea is that nobody's perfect. Even Lily has her flaws.
As well as high schoolers from the Harvey Milk School, which serves LGBT students.
And my idea was the Rice and Phoenix.
Each project starts with a meeting to work up themes and sketch out ideas. Laverne is a sophomore at Harvey Milk.
The goal was to paint something that sort of represents who you are and your dreams.
And what's the dream you tried to put on the wall?
Well, I'm transgender, and so my dream is to have the body that represents my gender. So I drew a naked woman. My dream is to sort of be seen for who I am.
The idea for the murals started 9 years ago, pretty much by accident, when Joel was living in a favela in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
During that time, I started to work with the youth there and started to create murals with them. And I thought, this is something that actually works. I can actually use my skills as a counselor that I've developed and my skills as an artist and kind of bring those two together, and it really fits.
And so the Opotiki mural begins.
At about that same time, Max started doing something similar with Maori youth who'd been in prison in New Zealand.
And really, the arts are a catalyst to talk about the most important issues in their lives.
The two of them joined up and formed a nonprofit called Artolution. A few hundred murals later, the idea is getting attention, and now a big check from Gucci through their Chime for Change campaign.
At first, it wasn't like that. It took years for us to be able to convince people that this matters.
Why'd they sign on?
I think people signed on because they realized this is a unique, innovative approaches to problems that other kinds of solutions have not been able to solve.
But the problems will not be easily solved in places like the refugee camps of Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, where more than 500,000 Rohingya have fled from Myanmar. These are kids with real serious problems. With great respect to the work you're doing, why worry about art?
Art is being used as a tool. You know, you have international organizations providing food and healthcare and a roof over people's heads, and those things are, of course, vital, and people need those. But then you take a step back and you say, okay, what about the trauma? What about the conflicts? And so dealing with that is a much more complicated issue, right? These are issues of mental health.
And when you put the brush in their hands, what was the story they wanted to tell?
One of the stories that they wanted to tell was a story about a family of elephants, yeah? And the family of elephants was carrying their homes over the Naf River, which is the river that divides Myanmar and Bangladesh. And that as they crossed the river, there's a rooster that was there to greet them, talking about the relationship between the Bengali people and the Rohingya people.
A story of being welcome.
Yeah, yeah.
Acceptance was a theme in New York, too. On the wall, and at the unveiling ceremony, where the principal of the Harvey Milk School conceded she initially worried the project would waste class time.
This experience has truly been transformative and magical.
Laverne and the others signed their names to the wall and reveled in what they'd made. And when you look at her, what do you think?
I see hope when I look at her because it's sort of my future. For me, being trans, sometimes I feel like I'm not seen the way I want to be seen. And with art, you have all the control in the world to just sort of present yourself the way you want to.
Max and Joel are actually in Lebanon right now, and a key part of their mission, especially for these international projects, is to train local artists to work with the children. So, for example, at that Rohingya camp in Bangladesh, the painting of the murals has continued now for months under the guidance of local artists who can work with the kids, and it's also a chance for those artists to be artists.
Yeah. It's amazing how powerful these kind of projects are. I know they've done a lot like this in Philadelphia. They have a mural program.
So many murals in
where they involve the communities. And when you bring the community in and everybody creates something together, there's a sense of ownership, and it's incredibly explosive.
And community as well. You know, in any school, there's tension between kids, and one of the students we spoke to said, you know, this is the one time where we don't seem to be fighting and bickering and worried about the little things that normally get in the way of the school day.
And gorgeous works of art.
Amazing how great they look.
Stunning. Yeah, the artwork's great, too.
Brook Silva-Braga, thank you very much.